Hey everybody. I want to start today's video by just offering an apology. I have went back and looked at some of my previous videos, and they're a mess. Just boring, and I feel like I'm not really being myself. But I have so much information in my head that I want to make sure I get it out properly. So before I make these videos, I go and I go through my research and I write all of my thoughts down. And then I've been relying heavily on my notes here that I kind of look over and read off of. So, but after looking at some of these previous videos I've made, it's they're it's hard to follow, and I talk with my hands too much. I move around. I'm working on all of these things, and I guess the only way to get better at these things is to practice them and spend more time doing it. And I'm still getting used to learning all the technology and all of that. Boomer, right? So anyway, I wanted to welcome you again. And say thank you for bearing with me, and wanted to continue talking about the universal teachings and how they can be used to we can apply the wisdom of these universal teachings in order to make our lives better and live our best lives, right? So basically the universal teachings are the expression of universal laws and principles that guide humankind to greater heights in harmony with the creative continuum known as God, right? They guide mankind in the direction of understanding, and guide each person toward reestablishing his or her or their connection, direct link with God. And through the connection that already exists within us, there flows a continuous source of guidance for growth and development in the material plane. And so we want to use the wisdom of the universal teachings, open our mind to them, get eyes to hear, ears to, or no, eyes to see, ears to hear, rather. Sorry. And help us move forward into spiritual understanding. And in order to achieve self mastery, there needs to be understanding first, and then control, right? So I just want to take a second and I want to read a passage from one of the books that I have been profoundly influenced by, which is called, if you see here, oh, sorry, the light, The Symbology of the Sayings of Jesus. It's by Neil Kelly. It takes all of the sayings of Jesus taken out of the Gospel of Thomas, and breaks them down into what the lessons mean. Jesus taught in parable and what it meant, and how we can apply them, right? So I'm just going to read this page here. So it says, the gospel according to Thomas was discovered along with many other writings in 1945 at Nag Hammadi, Egypt. Scholars agree that the material is authentic. Today, all that was found has been translated and printed under the title Nag Hammadi Library and can be found in most libraries, bookstores, and you can get it all online. The universal teachings put forth by Jesus were essentially taught by the Essenes, a sect of Judaism that existed during the time of Jesus and had its beginnings 360 years before his birth. So, and what the gist of all of the universal teachings is trying to do is leads us to greater understandings, and then greater understandings can lead us to control, right? Control of our environment, control of our emotions, right? But the first step is understanding, right? And then once you have understanding, insight, like I've talked before, you can gain control, which is essential in order to free ourselves from the barriers that we put up and create for ourselves in this material plane, right? In order to achieve self-mastery, like I said, there needs to be control. And emotional control is the second step toward mastery of the self. And it's also essential to achieve the higher states of consciousness and free oneself to move into spiritual realms with power and knowledge. And understanding is everything. The more we understand, the more we can control. The more we understand the energies at work in our lives, in every situation we find ourselves in, the greater control of the events surrounding us that we have. When we understand the energies behind motivations of people or the things that are of ourselves that propel us to do certain things, we have an opportunity to exercise control over the emotional response, right? So all of that being said, it's like when you realize and you can take control of how you respond to things instead of just jumping into something, taking a beat to think about it, analyze the situation, and then you can act accordingly. You start gaining control and you start to master yourself instead of you're proactive instead of reactive. It's through understanding the concepts that operate in our subconscious that we're able to exercise emotional influence over our patterns of behavior. Again, we talk about patterns of behavior and why we do the things that we do, what the programming that we've received over time, and how that affects our decision making and the situations that we get into ourselves into every day. We create our own experienced reality through fulfilling subconscious expectations, right? So when we, meditate and do all these things and use the universal teachings, they can help us gain degrees of mastery that will change our lives for the better and into what we want them to be, right? And this process requires the asking of questions inside. I gave an example a long time ago, a few videos back, about meditative exercise, about self-questioning, and that, with the right amount of patience, the answers will come. Why do I do this or that? Why do I act or feel this way about whatever the situation is? How am I supposed to act? When you ask yourself these questions, why do I get into this relationship over and over again? Why do I keep bringing these certain people into my life? Why does this thing keep happening over and over? We start to see, because we think something like 50,000 thoughts every day, and the majority of time, 80% or 90%. I can't quote the specifics on the stats, but we think the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And then when we do that, we create the reality that we're thinking about every day. If you ask yourself these questions and you're truly honest with yourself, and it's a very brave thing. I mean, in today's world, nobody wants to step on toes, and we have to walk around on eggshells because of everyone's feelings and everybody, but you can still do that inside yourself, right? You can be honest with yourself, and that's the thing, is being honest with ourselves, truly honest, and you start to understand and uncover the real answers and begin to recognize the programming that we received that altered all of our perceptions and blinded us and made us deaf to the truth, right? The bottom line is that we got to seek within ourselves to understand the truth of who we are. We need to understand our personal belief systems. As a person, we need to understand the concepts that we've been taught and that we use to build our ego. the concepts that have built our lives into what they are today, right? Like we have to take responsibility for that. And when we can take responsibility for it, we can begin to change them. And that is why we move into how important taking the wisdom of the universal teachings is, and then applying them, the wisdom of there's the universal teachings are all around us and we don't even know it half the time. What is the writing on the wall? You hear all these expressions, and where all that comes from, well, it stems from the universal teachings. I mean, I am a spiritual person. I believe that the Bible is a spiritual handbook to how to live your life, but it needs to be analyzed and recognized, and the lessons need to be learned the right way, with the right way, not what some people have told. It's all what matters inside yourself, right? And it's from this place that we can apply the universal teachings and continue on our journey of growth and discovery on this golden path, this alignment with ourselves, with the God force. Another key ingredient to self-mastery is improving our listening skills. This works hand in hand with gaining emotional control of our thoughts and reactions. I mean, we have 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. What does that mean? We need to look and listen twice as much as we should be talking, right? Like it's eyes to see, ears to hear. We have to learn to hear what's being said to us as well. Like, people hear what they want to hear a lot of times, but if we need to think about the words that are being spoken, and then seek to expand our definitions in order to hear and see the larger, deeper meanings, right? It's also, and in this regard, it's also important to understand symbology. And so when you take all of the universal teachings and then symbology, so symbology is the way that the mind projects and speaks to you outwardly, right? Like, if you look at it, like our existence is like a hologram being projected in front of us. Well, things occur in our lives over and over, or things are gonna pop out at you, and this is symbol. You have to look and find where the symbols are and what they mean, and so when you become aware of it, you'll see it all the time. You'll see a song on a radio, and then you'll hear a lyric that you never heard before, or you'll see a billboard on the side of the road, and there'll be a message on it, and oh wow, and the symbolism can turn into your body too. Like, my ankle hurts. Okay, why? Where are you trying to go? What, are you happy with where you're going? There's all these different things, and we are going to get into what the symbology means and what it is, and we're going to talk about the universal teachings and the symbology of Jesus's teachings, and we're going to talk about all of these kinds of things. But basically, symbology is the way that the mind projects and speaks to you outwardly. This living language of symbols allows us to hear and see the meanings behind words, deeds, and actions. So, somebody comes at you saying things, and then what are they really saying, and what's the meaning behind it? So you learn to find the deeper meanings, right? And then you can apply them. And that's how, using these universal teachings and recognizing the symbols of our lives, it's guidance. It's all guidance, so that we can go on reach that higher, improved life that we're all trying to get to. And it's so dark out there right now, and it just seems that the entire world is going crazy and it's all falling apart. And, we have to look inside and find the inner strength within us to try to hold this all together, and for ourselves and for everyone else, and then try to be the example that we want to see, you know. Anyway, I'm sorry. But life, like the universe and everything in it, it flows in cycles, right? Like I've been talking about before, repeating things. Oh, why does this keep coming up in my life over and over? Because everything is cycles, right? This is why there's a cliche of history repeats itself. It's so true. You know, people never think about it, but our personal histories also repeat themselves. You get out of one bad relationship and then you jump into another one because you didn't learn the lessons you needed to learn from the first time. So you get it again until you recognize what you're doing wrong or where you need to change, and then you make the change, and then you pick a different partner, right? And it's going to continue to repeat until we recognize the symbols, the situations, the emotional thoughts and reactions, and then rewrite and change it in order to break that cycle. And get into a newer positive one, right? You know, I hit you with a lot today, and we'll expand on all these concepts and reinforce them as the channel evolves. And I appreciate your patience with me as I try to improve my presentations on the channel. You know, I'm trying to get better. Like, again, I'm relying on these notes and, you know, all of that, but it's just, things are so deep, but it's also attainable for all of us. And we gotta be able to see it. And, you know, there's so many distractions out there that are blinding us to what is all available for all of us, right? And so I just want to say thank you for your patience. Please bear with me as I try to get better at this, and I hope to see you again on the next video. I'm going to actually get into examples of what of some of the universal teachings, and we're going to just start breezing through some of them and what their symbolic meanings are and how we can apply them. And so I hope you'll bear with me, and I'll see you next time, you know, and like and share and all that good stuff. You know, I swore I wasn't going to ask for all of that, because if you like it, you're going to like it. If you don't, you're going to just move on. But thank you for being with me here, and I will see you next time.